5% duty on Canadian imports, and a 15% levy on goods from the European Union, among others. Adding to the political drama, he also dismissed the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics following a disappointing jobs report. Yet, amid these high-profile stories, one major development has been largely overlooked. Canadian aluminum exports to the United States have dropped sharply, even as shipments to other global markets have surged. Tariffs on Canadian aluminum began tightening in early March 2025, when Washington invoked Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, imposing a 25% duty on steel and aluminum imports effective March 11. Canada immediately retaliated with tariffs on $29.8 billion worth of U.S. goods targeting select agricultural and industrial products, signaling that it would not take such punitive measures lying down. By June, the U.S. doubled tariffs on Canadian primary aluminum to 50%, specifically targeting raw metal and significantly increasing pressure on Canadian smelters that had long relied on the U.S. as their top export market. By late May 2025, trade data revealed the impact. U.S.-bound Canadian exports, which historically made up over 3/4 of total shipments, had fallen sharply. Between May 2024 and May 2025, the U.S. share dropped 10 percentage points to just 68%, largely due to declines in manufacturing-related products such as steel and aluminum. Overall, Canadian exports rose slightly in volume, but the decline in U.S. shipments marked a structural shift in trade patterns one Canadian leaders have called both necessary and challenging. In March alone, after the initial 25% tariff took effect, aluminum exports to the U.S. fell 6.6% month-over-month. April brought an even steeper 15.7% plunge, as U.S. buyers sought tariff-free alternatives from Europe or relied more heavily on recycled aluminum. By May, exports to the U.S. had dropped for the fourth consecutive month, down another 0.9%, reaching their lowest levels since the depths of the 2020 pandemic. In 2023, Canada shipped 5.46 million metric tons of aluminum to the U.S. Suddenly, smelters faced a huge domestic surplus, mounting inventories, and financial strain. In response, Canadian producers scrambled to find new markets. One of the biggest beneficiaries was Europe. Companies like Alcoa sold over 100,000 metric tons of Canadian aluminum to non-U.S. buyers in the first half of 2025, supply that would have previously gone almost entirely to American customers. Italy emerged as a major new destination, taking advantage of an EU quota system that allowed certain imports tariff-free. Other countries, including Poland and the UK, increased purchases as well. By May, exports to non-US markets rose 5.7% to record highs. Mexico also became a modest but growing buyer, aided by its proximity and integration into North American manufacturing supply chains. Politically, Prime Minister Mark Carney condemned the tariff hikes, arguing that one U.S. justification linking Canada to illicit fentanyl flows was unfounded, and pledging to defend Canadian jobs. Economically, industry leaders have called for both immediate relief and long-term investment in higher-value aluminum products to reduce reliance on raw metal exports. Canada is also leveraging trade agreements to negotiate exemptions and quotas, particularly with Europe, the UK, Japan, and South Korea, though logistics and supply chain barriers make Asia more challenging. Despite these efforts, global aluminum prices have come under pressure due to oversupply in non-US markets. The European duty-paid premium dropped over 10% early in the year, while the U.S. Midwest premium rose but remained far short of offsetting the steep tariffs. Looking ahead, the situation is set to remain volatile. The latest U.S. tariff hike from 25% to 35% on all Canadian goods effective August 1 adds more strain. Without exemptions or quota deals, Canadian smelters may have to cut production or shutter older plants, particularly in Quebec and British Columbia. Some industry players are pushing for a pivot toward advanced manufacturing and specialized alloys for sectors like automotive and aerospace, where higher value could buffer against raw material tariffs. There's also interest in green energy integration for smelting operations, as well as trade expansion into Southeast Asia and the Middle East. The future of Canadian aluminum will hinge on diplomacy, market diversification, and innovation. While the road ahead is challenging, the ongoing shift toward Europe, Mexico, and other non-US markets could eventually yield a more balanced and resilient trade profile. For now, however, the pressure remains intense, with tariffs stacked at multiple levels: 25%, then 50% for primary metal, plus a new 35% blanket increase on all Canadian goods. Thank you for watching. As an independent channel, we rely on your support to keep going. If you found this video valuable, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. It really helps more people find our work. We appreciate you being part of our community. Check out the next video we've picked for you on your screen now.